In this video, we're going to be evaluating logarithmic expressions. Okay, so our first problem here, we have log base 2 of 1, and it's asking what is that value? And we're assuming we're doing this without a calculator. This can be done by hand. Okay, so what I do is I take this log base 2 of 1, and I set it equal to x. Okay, and then what I'm going to do then is I'm going to convert this thing into an exponential like this. Okay, so our exponential, which is an equivalent function to this, to the log base 2 of 1, equals x, is 2 to the x, 2 to the x equals 1. So I call this thing the circle thing. We circle this around to change it into an exponential, and we could also circle it back around. Not that we need to in this, but just so you have this knowledge, we could circle it back around like this if I wanted to change it back into a logarithm. So it would be log, remember we started here, that would be the first number we'd write, so that's our base. Second number is a 1, equals x, and we're back to where we started. Okay, so that's just some extra information there. So here's what we do. We take this, we set it equal to x, we change it into an exponential by using this. So it's 2 to the x is equal to 1. Now, on this one, what power of x, what could x be that would possibly make 1 be the answer? Is there any power, anything I could put here that would change this 2 into a 1? 2 to some power. Well, the answer to that is 0. Anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. So we know that 2 to the 0 power is equal to 1. Okay, so we know what x is, right? Since we know 2 to the 0 power is equal to 1, and x is here, then we know x is equal to 0. Okay, and remember, we set this thing equal to 0. So since this thing's equal to x and this thing is equal to x, then these two things have to be equal. So my answer here is 0. Okay, let me walk through that one quick more time. So I take this function, I use this circle thing to change this logarithm into an exponential, so it becomes 2 to the x equals 1. Okay, still looking for x, which is the answer to this problem, right? And then I realized that, well, if it's a 1, this exponent has to be a 0, because that's the only way you can raise something to a power and get a 1. Okay, so x is 0, and that means the answer here is 0. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. So I have log base 5 of the fraction 1 over 25, and I'm going to set that equal to x, and I'm going to use the circle method to convert this into an exponential. Okay, so it would be 5 to the power of x is equal to 1 over 25. Okay, so now we have to ask ourselves, what power could 5 be possibly raised to that would give this as an answer, 1 over 25? Okay, and if you don't see it right off, that's fine. But think about the 25. Is that 5 to some power? Forget that it's on the bottom of a fraction. Is 25 5 to some power? Well, 5 squared is equal to 25, right? Okay, so we could put a 5 squared down there in its place. So that would be 5 to the x is equal to 1 over 5 to the 2. So 5 to the 2, this is not changed, right? We just wrote it in a different form. But we can take this, and since it's on bottom of a fraction, we can raise it up to the top, but make the exponent negative. So this becomes 5 to the x equals 5 to the negative 2, because we raised it to the top of the fraction. Now, what is x? If it's 5 to the x is equal to 5 to the negative 2, what do you think x is? Well, that has to be, these two have to be the same, right? So x has to be equal to negative 2. So if x is equal to negative 2, then the answer to my question up here is negative 2. Okay, let's look at another one. So we've got log 3 of 27. I'm going to set that equal to x. I'm going to change it into an exponential like this. Okay, so that will give me 3 to the x is equal to 27. So what power can I raise 3 to so that you'll get 27? This one you might see. Okay, and if you don't, think of it a different way. 27 can be written as 3 to some power, right? 3 times 3 times 3 gives you 27, so that's 3 to the third. So we have 3 to the x is equal to 3 to the 3, right? And 27 and 3 to the 3 is the same. So we know x is equal to 3. And if x is equal to 3, then my answer is 3. Okay, one last one here. So we've got log base 8 of the fraction 1 over 64 equals x. I'm going to use the circle method to change this into an exponential. Okay, so that will be, let's write it over here. Well, let's write it here. 8 to the power of x is equal to 1 over 64. Okay, so this is similar to the one we did two problems ago. Okay, this is on bottom of a fraction. We need to get that fraction, get rid of that fraction. We also need to put this 64 in terms of 8 to a power. So 8 to what power gives you 64? Well, that would be 2. So I'm exchanging the 64 with an 8 to the 2. Okay, and now just like I did earlier, since this 8 to the 2 is on bottom of the fraction, I can bring it up top and make it 8 to the negative 2. Given that now I have 8 to the x equals 8 to the negative 2, then x has to be equal to negative 2, which means my answer to this problem is negative 2. And that's it.